Chairperson who will conduct the particular segment. I would just like to start by acknowledging a few of our guests, starting with the mayors. We have in our midst the Mayor of eThekwini, His Worship, Councillor Cyril Kaba. Welcome, Your Worship. We also have the Mayor of uMngeni-uThukela District Municipality, Councillor Zuma. We also have in our midst the Mayor of uMngeni Local Municipality, Councillor Stakeholder. We also have the Deputy Chairperson of the Provincial House of Traditional Leadership, Inkosi Mstole. We also have Abantwana baseNdlunkulu, siyabamkela ngokusithoba. We also have deputy mayors in our midst. I am not sure if they have all arrived, but if they haven't done so, I am certain they are on their way. We are expecting to be joined by the deputy mayor of the eThekwini Metro, Councillor uMngeni, the deputy mayor of the Herigwana District Municipality, Councillor Jojosi, the mayor of the deputy mayor of uMsunduzi and local municipality, Councillor Mkhize, is certainly within our midst. We also have the Speaker of the uMngeni-uThukela District Municipality, Councillor Madlopa, the UDM representing the Mayor and actually on behalf of the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Nigi. We then also have representatives of the MEC for COPTA in KZN. Maybe if I may pause to allow Abantwana baseNdlunkulu to take a seat. Ladies and gentlemen, as I was saying, we are also joined by the Deputy Director General of KZN COPTA, representing MEC for COPTA, who, despite his wishes, could not be with us owing to some other government engagements. Dr. Katide. We also have representatives from DWS KZN. We are also expecting to be joined by the Minister of Water and Sanitation, Honorable Minister, but she could not join us, but she did send her apologies, and she apologizes most profusely. We also have representatives of Chapter 9 institutions. The Office of the Public Protector, I am aware, is within our midst. As we are aware, one of the things that we do as a water board, we have a constitutional prerogative to ensure that we fulfill that, and we welcome the Office of the Public Protector. We are also joined by various chambers of commerce. I have seen representatives of the Durban Chamber of Commerce and Industry, as well as the Zululand Chamber. We welcome you all stakeholders. We have been joined by our private sector stakeholders, municipalities, obviously too many to mention, but I thought I should all welcome you unofficially. And with those few words, just allow the chairperson of the board, Advocate Vusi Kuzwayo, to do the official welcome. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm certain that Mr. Maphumulo has tried his level best to acknowledge everyone who is in our midst. If you have been missed out, I would apologize, I think, on his behalf. We're being overwhelmed. I think when we were planning, sometimes you plan that you would wish to have as many relevant people to the occasion as best as you can. And everyone who's here is welcome. We all really are pleased with your presence. It's really a pleasure on behalf of the board and management and staff to welcome you to the launch of the 2024-2025 annual results. this is an occasion that always take place once in a year, because the results are an outcome of a particular year. You see, in trying to prepare how best one can articulate how this organization has performed, you'll find that mine is just to make a welcome and then give a very brief notes. But I think I would have failed if there is a topic that I think I should share with you, because we talk about climate change, we talk about embracing the AI, this artificial intelligence. So I think it would make more sense for me just to share with you how are we shaping uMngeni-uThukela Water Board in relation to that, because it's going to be part of our life. So what we're doing with the AI and the predictive modeling of water resource management, the deployment of digital tools for leak detection, and implementing innovative, low-cost sanitation solutions for both urban and rural communities. Because that's an area where if we don't do anything now, we would have failed, I think, as a board, and generally would have failed as an organization to cater for the generation that will come after us. At uMngeni-uThukela Water Board, we have embarked on 16 research, development, technology, and innovation initiatives. And these are focused on the following areas. It's pollution and environmental management, water and wastewater process optimization, water resource management, energy optimization and energy alternatives, business process and data management, infrastructure development and asset management. So the 9 initiatives are at planning and execution stage. And then the 7 initiatives are at monitoring and evaluation stage. You'll then cast your eyes, probably then put your hope that uMngeni-uThukela Water does not lose focus on what I've just presented to you, because all is intended to optimize, all is intended to have a more resilient water management for the people of the province. Why are we shifting the focus on these innovations? It's because we have dams, and everyone would say it's been raining, our dams are over capacity, but how come we don't have enough water? And it's a question that nobody can answer unless we do the things that we say we're doing. We also are looking at the triple Ps the public-private partnerships. We all do know that uMngeni-uThukela Water is owned by DWS. We all know that uMngeni-uThukela Water does not receive a cent from the fiscus. So the things that we ought to do, the things that we do, we generate own money to do them in the main on behalf of government. So it means if we do not look differently in terms of where do we find money, very soon you will find us not being in a position to meet our mandate and objectives. Therefore, when you look at where the interest is, maybe before I talk about that, a PP is a concept that is not free. Before you go into it, you must fund it. So we are in that space where once we aspire PPPs, but we're not gullible, because you need to have all kind of professionals, because the investors, they have all kind of questions. So how do you spend the money you don't have if you want to go into PPPs? So it means there must be prudence. It means you must know what you want, because you are not going to get everything. But we are alive to a need for a very vigilant, I think, PPP approach strategy. Why I wouldn't talk much on a PPP, because there is one that was advertised. We responded, and you might find maybe the decision maker is sitting somewhere here, so I wouldn't want to go into detail. But in general, I think where uMngeni-uThukela Rail Water Board seeks to achieve much is through collaborations. You know, we always say our customers are the municipalities. And if you follow what one may say is your legislative mandate, and would follow how the Constitution has allocated functions and services, you will find that we probably are not in a position to do it all. We are not in a position to take water from a dam to a community. But because we respect the various tiers of government, we also respect that we must stick within your mandate. There's a common saying that says, stick on your own lane. But if we are going to stick on our own lane and we don't add value to a municipality because the municipality is on its own lane, I think collectively us and the municipality would have failed the people of this province. So collaboration is what we would really seek to drive our mandate in order to ensure that the operations that we are responsible for, they find traction in a municipality, put the two together, then there will be water for our communities. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Advocate Kuzwayo. Thank you. You did say, Advocate, that the list is quite exhaustive. And as I stand here, I am receiving updates from my colleagues. We also have within our midst the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on COCTA in the province, Honorable Naya. We welcome you. We also have representatives of organized labor within uMngeni-uThukela Water, namely Nehawu and Samu, whom we also regard as critical stakeholders. You are also welcome, colleagues. And just to mention that we also have our sister water board, Rand Water, who have also joined us, which, as the chairperson has said, the matter of water distribution is a shared ideal. Hence, these colleagues are here to also join us, who also, by the way, are our co-colleagues in AUSISA, which is the Association for Water Institutions in South Africa. Can I now invite upon the podium Dr. Madoda Katide, the Deputy Director General, who is here to just give remarks on behalf of the MEC for COCTA in KZN, Honorable Thulasizwe Buthelezi. Thank you.
Greetings to the Program Director, Bantwana basendlunkulu ngiyakhuleka, Chairperson of uMngeni-uThukela, Advocate Kuzwayo, Deputy Chairperson of the Board, Babu Mkhize, saw him outside. Madam, sorry for that. Mayors, Deputy Mayors, and leadership from the labor movement who are present today. My chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, greetings to you, Madam Honorable Chair. The Chief Executive Officer and CFO, Kabazela Nonkwali, the board members that are present, senior management of uMngeni, as well as from all the state entities, distinguished guests and stakeholder present, good day. I'm here representing the Honorable MEC. So he prefers that we read his speeches is. Please bear with me. I'm not good at reading. I don't read speeches. I normally pour and flow. As the KwaZulu-Natal Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, we are honored to be part of this important occasion where uMngeni-uThukela Water once again showcases robust performances that continues to inspire hope and confidence across our provinces, sorry for that. Allow me first to convey sincere apologies on behalf of the Honorable MEC, Reverend Thulasizwe Buthelezi, who regrettably could not be with us due to prior commitments. He deeply regrets not being present today, as he strongly believes the vital role that uMngeni-uThukela Water is playing, particularly in supporting municipalities with sustainable bulk water provisions. Over the past few years, he has noticed that uMngeni Water has demonstrated excellent performances in both operational and delivery of infrastructure. This water board has become a beacon of hope to many public entities as well as various stakeholders. We regard uMngeni as a shining example of how a public entity should operate. Their financial results and operational achievements over the recent few years reflect consistent improvement and resilience despite challenging circumstances. As the Oversight Department of COGTA in KZN, we commend the board and its executive. Water is not just a basic services to the MEC, but it is one of those most precious resources our communities can have. Yet it faces multiple threats, from source contamination to waste leaks and illegal connections. So we acknowledge the tremendous efforts that your team have put, Chair, in ensuring that municipalities receive this good quality of water under these difficult circumstances. It's not enough for institutions like uMngeni to be alone in achieving these performances. Municipalities, therefore, are also called themselves. They must strengthen their own systems, especially in planning, maintenance, and also responsiveness to the service needs. On this point, we must also acknowledge that a culture of non-payment for water services has developed in parts of our province. When citizens do not pay, revenue streams weaken, infrastructure cannot be maintained, and water losses perceived value, fueling further waste and losses. One of the key campaigns we are driving as COGTA across all municipalities is that of improving revenue collection for water services. We believe that if municipalities can tighten their own revenue discipline and reinvest their income into the water infrastructure, that would ease pressures on the side of the board. This in turn will accelerate your ability as the board to expand and sustain vital water projects, especially in historically previously disadvantaged areas. However, there are positive developments that we have observed where meaningful contributions and progress have been made. September 2025, there was a historic four-way agreement that the department, Honorable MEC, representing COGTA, signed with the board. And it involved uThukela District Municipality. This marked a significant step in water sanitation service delivery. And this was as a result of a decision by the MEC to place the district municipality under Section 63 of the Water Service Act. It culminated into the appointment of the uMngeni-uThukela Water as the implementing agent for priority water and waste water works across the district of uThukela. This arrangement tapped into the Water Board's technical expertise to strengthen the district's operational capacity to manage key infrastructure and accelerate project delivery. Funded through the grants from MIC and other grants made available to the municipality. This model has reduced wasted grant funding and improved project execution, setting a benchmarking for other districts to follow the suit. Program Director, we celebrate this collaboration and we see it as a model for effective intergovernmental relationship. We also call for more strategic agreements like this between uMngeni Water as well as other municipalities and public agencies to uplift the service delivery province-wide. We are also encouraged by the number of infrastructure projects currently underway. It signals that we are turning the corner and moving towards a future where citizens from places like Ilembe, King Cetshwayo, Zululand, uMngeni, Herikwala, as well as Oko, will experience fewer water outages and more dependable water services. Indeed, when the 2025-26 municipal financial year began in July, we went out on a drive and engaged all the mayors in the province. And we stressed that no allocated water infrastructure funds should be returned back to the National Treasury. This directive aims to ensure that every rand earmarked for water services delivery is spent on its intended purposes. On that note, we congratulate uMngeni-uThukela Water on another impressive performance here. We are confident that your expertise will continue to guide municipalities in investing wisely on infrastructure and maintenance systems for continuous supply and safeguarding our most precious resources. As I was preparing for this report, I went through the commitments that were made in the previous audit report. And I noted the following: that you have managed to deal with the poor culture of non-payment for services. And how you did that, I don't know. But so far, we want to emulate the very same strategies that we have utilized. How you strike that with the reviews of tariffs to make sure that they comply, but at the same time, they are affordable. It's something that is miraculous to us, because that is what you are struggling in the municipal space. At the very same time, you managed to increase the sales volume. So we are waiting and watching in this financial year on whether have you managed to keep up with the pace that you have set. Another issue that touched my heart was your 1% of net profit after tax towards the corporate social investment, and that is uploaded. Consistent stakeholder management, you have never faltered on that one. You've always kept all of us on our toes, ensuring that we are updated with information. You are still striving to achieve universal access for safe water, and we are learning from you. In fact, for the last 15 years, I haven't drank tap water. And this year, I said to my children, never drink them. Because where I stay, I know that the quality of water is not good. I read these documents from the side of court. Areas not incorporated under uMngeni. In fact, I learned that one of my former colleagues who used to be a councillor with Standard 8 was supervising these plans. That's when I decided to stop. I wanted just to put a disclaimer on that one so that you'll understand. The approach of entering areas that are not yet incorporated in your systems and plans, we really appreciate that those areas at one stage, they will be fully covered. 6.93 on asset management, your maintenance and operation budget. I know it's not sufficient, but out of the province, we've got 54 municipalities. I can guarantee you, less than 4 of municipalities have managed to reach this. How you do it, it's something that we need to learn from you. The commitment on clean governance, accountability, transparency, and financial stewardship. It's not easy for the boards, especially with, I think I saw you've got about 10 members in your board, excluding the CEO. And I serve in one board, we have 50 managing a budget of 100 million, right? The tensions that are there, it's not easy to manage them. But I think you have been successful to ensure that the board is speaking from the very same page. The approach in terms of dealing with inclusive economic growth, infrastructure development, and employment opportunities, it's visible to all of us because we see the projects being rolled out, implemented, and out of that, we all benefit. Based on the challenges, experiences by municipalities as a result of the lack of technical skills, insufficient resources, this is the last one, and inadequate capacity to meet growing needs of people, you decided to assist the double SAs to overcome their water challenges, and you were not greedy. So that partnership we really cherish and appreciate, and we are saying that please continue where you have done very well. As a department, we remain committed to working alongside uMngeni-uThukela Water so that municipalities in KZN may continue to provide sufficient clean water for residents, businesses, and long-term provincial growth. I'm not sure why I was requested to go through. I saw my, for my acting HOD, let me acknowledge that she joined because she's responsible for this branch. With those few words, thank you very much, and you are welcome for my acting HOD.
Thank you very much, Dr. Katide. At great risk of losing my job as the program director, seeing as you've done the welcome, but thank you nonetheless. Colleagues, I can assure you that the water we produce is SANS 241 standards compliant. It is right before you. Dr. Katide takes a sip. Thank you very much. So no need to have trepidations there. On a more serious note, DDG, when the MEC addressed this gathering last year, one of the challenges that he threw down before the board of uMngeni-uThukela Water and the executive was that if we made inroads into uncharted territories, he would support that. And indeed, that proof of support is to be found in the fact that right now we are working with the uThukela District Municipality, which our COO will expand upon when he does his presentation. So you can rest assured that provided we get the support from COGTA, we have municipalities in our hairlines. Can I now invite upon the podium our Chief Executive, Mr. Sandile Psychology Mkhize, to give us an organizational overview as well as the performance highlights. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Program Director. Let me take this opportunity to greet the Chairperson of the Board, Advocate Ukhuzwayo, to greet board members of uMngeni-uThukela Water. Let me greet the honorable mayors in our midst today. Greet stakeholders from the public sector and private sector. It gives me a pleasure to stand before you today, this afternoon, presenting the outcome of the performance of the uMngeni-uThukela board for the year 2024-2025 financial year. In terms of my presentation, I'll be talking on the governance. I will allow the COO to speak on the execution of the mandate, which are the operational matters, and the CFO will talk on the financial viability and sustainability. In terms of the governance, when you look at the structure, we'll be looking at the structure of the board, and we'll be looking at the executive management. We're looking at the assurance providers and those that provide oversight of the work that the board does. We'll look at the collaboration and the partnerships that we have. We'll look at the strategic risk that ensures that the organization continues to remain sustainable. We'll then look at the performance highlights for 2024-2025. And lastly, I will then deal with issues of corporate citizenship, which gives us the social license to operate in the areas that we are operating of KwaZulu-Natal as gazetted in the Government Gazette. When you look at the governance structure, we are a creation of the law, which is was passed by the Parliament of South Africa, where the very same Parliament has an oversight role in the form of the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee on Water and Sanitation, which is led by Honorable Basson. That committee provides oversight on all water issues in the country. As a water board, uMngeni-uThukela Water, we are an entity that is wholly owned by the Department of Water and Sanitation through the Minister, Ms. uMngeni-uThukela. We derive our existence from the law, which is the Water Services Act, Section 28, which created or establishes the Water Board. Section 29 of the Water Services Act under Chapter 6 then provides the primary mandate of the Water Board, which is to provide water services, both bulk and wastewater services, to other water services institutions like your municipalities and industries in the area that we serve. In our case, KwaZulu-Natal is the area that we are servicing. So when you look at uMngeni-uThukela Water, as I've said, that we are established according to the law, we are classified as a government business enterprise. We are a Schedule 3B entity. What that means is that as a water board, we don't receive allocation from the fiscus. So as the Minister of Finance will be delivering his budget speech shortly, there is nothing that we will be expecting from the minister. So what it means that as a water board, we need to run our financial affairs in such a way that we are a sustainable and a growing business in the area that we are operating. We have two entities that were created in line with our mandate. We have uMngeni Holdings, which deals with management of water resources and also managing the resorts that are located in the areas where we have these water resources, these dams. So their function is to manage both the resources there and the resorts. And then we have the uMngeni Water Services. This is a subsidiary which does what we call front-end loading for the parent company, uMngeni-uThukela Water, by preparing and engaging and forming partnership with stakeholders like yourself, and prepare in such a way that when those partnerships are ready to be transferred to the parent company can take over and run with those initiatives that they have initiated. When you look at the board, the board was appointed by the Minister of Water and Sanitation in October 2023. It's a 12-member board. Currently, we have vacancies, 2 vacancies in the board. It is up to the Honorable Minister, Phemie Majodina, whether those vacancies they are closed or they remain the way they are. The board is responsible for directing the strategy of the organization. And it is formed in accordance with the King 4 corporate governance report, and they, in ensuring that they pursue their fiduciary responsibilities as a board, there are board committees that were formed. There is an audit, finance and risk committee, which is responsible for dealing with issues of audit, deals with risk, deals with financial issues. There is a social and ethics committee that deals with the social issues, your corporate social responsibility, and the ethical conduct that we need to demonstrate and to live as a public entity. There is a CapEx and fixed asset committee that deals with issues of asset growth and asset maintenance. There is a human resource and remuneration committee that deals with matters that has to do with our internal stakeholders, which are your employees and the well-being of the employees. There's innovation, technology, and information committee that deals with the information technology. I know the chairperson spoke about us embracing AI or artificial intelligence. This is a committee that then drives us as a water board in adopting these new technologies. And then there is a governance committee that looks at the general governance and oversight within the organization. The board then directs the executive to drive the strategy of the board through the executive committee under the leadership of the chief executive on day-to-day basis. And then in the executive committee, there are executives who are heads of the divisions. And when you look at how we are structured as an organization, we have said for us to be agile and for us to be responsive and for us to be efficient in running the business and ensuring the delivery of water services, both water and sanitation service, in this vast area of KwaZulu-Natal, it is better to demarcate the province into 4 regions. We then had developed what is called the Northeastern region, which is made up of uMngeni-uThukela district municipality, Zululand district municipality, King Echwayo district municipality, and city of Umhlathuze local municipality. We then also designated the Northwestern region, which is made up of Amajuba district municipality, Newcastle local municipality, uMngeni local municipality, and uThukela district municipality. We have the central region. It's made up of 2 municipalities, Ilembe district municipality and it's eThekwini Metro. Then lastly, we have the southern region, which is made up of Ugu district municipality, the Herikwala district municipality, the uMgungundlovu district municipality, and uMsunduzi local municipality. And in that way, we believe that we are going to be able as an entity to be effective and efficient in driving water and sanitation service delivery in the province if we categorize or if we demarcate the province in this fashion. As a water board and the board in conducting its fiduciary responsibilities, we are subjected to oversight by oversight bodies. The Minister of Water and Sanitation and the MEC for cooperative governance, in KZN have conducted certain visits, which are oversight visits to look at how we do our business. Just to name a few, there was an oversight visit to Ugu District Municipality where there was a visit to the Lower uMngeni water scheme to conduct the oversight. This is a scheme that is designed and developed which is intended to address the issues of water shortages in eThekwini, in the south coast part of eThekwini, and to Ugu District Municipality through the water treatment works, the 125 megaliter water treatment works that will then supply these two municipalities. There was a visit also at eThekwini where the minister handed over houses to the communities that were displaced when we raised the dam wall of the Hazelmere, and we can report to this meeting today that all the communities that were affected by the raising of the Hazelmere dam wall have now received their houses, and nobody has been left in the cold. There was an oversight visit also when we launched the KwaXimba water treatment package plant. This is a plant that was developed based on the dire need of water in the area of KwaXimba in collaboration with the city eThekwini Metro, and we were able in a very short space of time to ensure that the people of KwaXimba were able to benefit from the initially 2 megaliters a day, and later on a 5 megaliter a day package plant was added, where we have now a design capacity in place that has been commissioned of 7 megaliters a day. There was also a launch at Mpopomeni Wastewater Works, where the Deputy Minister carried out a visit, and lastly, a visit at uMngeni-uThukela District Municipality for the launch of the Makribini bulk water supply system. So those were the oversight visits that I just wanted to highlight, where the minister and the mayors and also the MEC did take part. There are other oversights that were conducted by the board. When you look at the board had 11 meetings for the year under review. Some may say these are high in numbers, but when you look at the board, it's since 1st July 2023, the Gazette was out to merge the two entities, which was uMhlathuze Water and uMngeni-uThukela Water. And for the past 2 years, we've been operating in a transition mode where we are merging the two entities which were combined as a going concern entities. It needed more time from the board to ensure that there is stability and to ensure that there is continuity, and that service delivery is not impacted by the change that had happened. So the board had to play an active oversight and a regular oversight in ensuring that we do continue as an entity while we continue to perform the expected mandate that we are in existence because of the law that has created us for. The Auditor General of South Africa has issued the report where they have confirmed that we have achieved an unqualified audit opinion. There are still some findings that relates to the compliance with the law, but there are no findings in terms of achievement of the predetermined objective, which means that our financials may have had misstatements that were corrected, and our performance report was free of any errors. So what we are reporting that we have achieved is confirmed that it is indeed according to the agreement that we had with the shareholder, which is the Minister of Water and Sanitation, through our corporate plan, which is a 5-year document, and through a shareholder compact, which is a 1-year document that then documents the agreed performance between the minister and the board. In terms of the performance of the organization achieved a 97.59% against the targets that we agreed upon in the shareholder compact. To put this in perspective, colleagues, there are 7 water boards currently in the country. Last year, when we met with the minister, when he was giving a feedback on the performance of the water boards, that year we had achieved a 96%. We were the only water board that had performed at 90 and above %. So this 97.5, which is basically 98%, it means that we have even outperformed ourselves by just over 1.6% from the performance that we had achieved in the previous financial year. I think we need to give ourselves a round of applause. We continue also to ensure that the organization remains sustainable, and there are continuity plans in terms of our risk management. Over 80% of the risk management action plans were achieved in the previous financial year. Maybe the other thing, which is the most important part, because we are existing because of this, the water quality. I heard that the MEC did speak about the quality of water, that in some areas they are unable to drink the water. But I want to give you the assurance that as uMngeni-uThukela water, in the areas that we are supplying, the water that we are providing is the water that is compliant and even above the minimum expectation in the Blue Drop standard. So our water is of high quality that is free and suitable for human consumption, where we've demonstrated this by achieving a 98.6% in terms of the Blue Drop report. I think we can also give ourselves a round of applause. I've spoken about our subsidiary, the uMngeni Water Services. The chairperson spoke earlier about partnerships and collaboration. This is an entity that is tasked with forming those partnerships and collaborations, and to ensure that the business that they generate is able to generate continuing business for the group, which is uMngeni-uThukela Water. There are 7 core creating partnerships that were activated in the year under review. I'm not going to go deep into them. Safe to say that there was a partnership with the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, the CSIR, eThekwini Metro Municipality. There is a Sector Education and Training Authority, the SETAs, the Department of Higher Education and Training, the Ugu District Municipality, Department of Corporate Governance and Traditional Affairs, and with the University of Johannesburg. Just to indicate the nature of these partnerships, what uMngeni Water Services is doing is working with eThekwini to deal with issues of non-revenue water, where we have funded a project to the tune of 50 million to address the issue on a pilot scale of non-revenue water. And we believe that once that process is completed, eThekwini will be able to then roll out using the model of the study that is being currently done by uMngeni Water Services. We have initiated a same process with Ugu District Municipality, where Ugu is funding, and they feel that for them to reduce the non-revenue water, it will then boost their balance sheet and their revenues. Hence, they prioritize that they partner with uMngeni Water Services. I will urge also other municipalities to say, let's look at this partnership so that we can then reduce the pressure on the supply side from ourselves, because we know that most of the municipalities, eThekwini is one of them, uMgungundlovu and Msunduzi is one of them, that are taking water from the uMngeni system. We are under pressure because we have a high demand, but our license does not permit us to go and supply beyond what is permitted for us to abstract. As a result, there is a curtailment that is currently in place, which the COO will talk about, which meant that we had to reduce the water that we have been supplying to these municipalities. So you can imagine if you have been used to waking up and open your tap and you get water, and now there's curtailment, you have to go to bed and wake up, you don't know whether there's water because we have to ration the water until we comply with the conditions. If we go risk management, we have looked at 3 priorities that we feel are critical to the continued existence of uMngeni-uThukela water. Out of the 10 strategic risks that are in our strategic risk register, we are focusing mainly on our ability to meet future demand, which talks to the issue of water security for the province that we are supplying. We are looking at the ability to deliver projects on time, which talks to the issue that I had the MSc of COCTA talked about, where we don't return the money back to the fiscus. In our case, we don't want to have budgets that are rolled over because the projects are not being finished on time. And lastly, we are looking at financial viability, and that will then ensure that as an entity, we generate enough revenue and we are able to reinvest that revenue in the growth of the organization so that the organization will continue to implement its mandate in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. When you look at the performance of the organization at a glance, as I've said, that we have achieved an excellent performance of 97.59% against the predetermined objectives and target. We achieved the revenue of 6.6 billion rand in terms of the Section 29, which is your core business. And then we achieved a revenue of 915 million from the Section 30 activity. That is what we call other related businesses in accordance with the Water Services Act. This is slightly lower than what we had targeted to achieve, which was 1.2 billion. This is mainly because we had to have a termination in one of the projects where we have received a ministerial directive to intervene in the Greater Mbizane project, where the contractor that was appointed, the DWS construction unit, was not performing, and we then, to manage the reputational risk on our side, we decided to terminate. Because of the time that it took for us to close out that chapter of termination and the appointment of the new service provider to continue with the project, that meant that we did not get the Section 30 revenue, which the CFO will talk about in his presentation. In terms of the water loss, I think this is one important part, because as you are aware that in the province, especially in the water value chain, we are a water service provider that provides water to the Water Services Authority, which is our municipalities. The water losses are in the region that are reported of 40 to 50%. I'm pleased to say that as uMngeni-uThukela water, the avoidable water losses only sit at 3.5%. So it shows that we are taking care of the infrastructure, we are maintaining the assets, both the ones that are above the ground that you can see and the assets that are underground that you cannot see, so that we are able to continue to deliver this bulk water to the intended beneficiaries, which is you, the municipalities. We had also interruption that lasted for over 24 hours. Our target was that we will have zero interruption that lasted for over 24 hours in any of the 14 systems that we are running. I'm sad to say that we had interruptions in 4 of the 14 systems that lasted for 6.8 days. As a result, that target was not achieved. I'm also pleased to report that in terms of the CAPEX expenditure, I'll be showing that in the next slide. For the first time as uMngeni-uThukela water, we were able to spend just over 3 billion rands towards implementation of CAPEX infrastructure, that is the expansion and also maintaining the existing infrastructure. You will see why I'm saying this. This is something new for the organization when you look at the gradual growth towards achieving this number. I must say that although we had an ambitious target of 4.55 billion, the 3.1 billion that was spent, I believe that it's very much reasonable when you look at the gradual growth towards the CAPEX implementation. I think the COO will talk of the gross profit margin, the current ratios, and all those other things. I don't want to take his shine. This is what I've been talking about. When you look at the gradual increasement of the investment towards the expansion and the capital growth in the organization. When you look at 2020, the expenditure on CAPEX or capital growth and asset maintenance was only sitting at 840 million rand. In 2021, it went to 825. When you look at 2023, we were sitting at 1.7 billion rand. In 2024, we were sitting at just over 2.6 billion rand. And we then jumped in in 2024-2025 to achieve this 3.1 billion rands. So this, I believe, is it's a demonstration that uMngeni-uThukela water is determined to ensure that the water security of the country, especially of KwaZulu-Natal, is secured. That is in accordance with our master plan, which is a 40-year planning or horizon planning. We want to ensure that the people of KwaZulu-Natal can rest assured that 40 years from now, they will be having water coming up in their taps, and not just water that is coming intermittently, but that will be the water that will be coming out on sustainable basis, ensuring that there is assurance of supply. When you look at the social corporate social investment, this is what gives us a license, a social license to operate in the areas that we are operating. The CFO will talk about the investment to corporate social investment, where we have looked at community education and community outreach, where we were able to reach 87 communities, teaching them about water management, things like your servitude, encroachment awareness, activities that has to deal with issues of health and safety in relation to water, and also issues of water pollution management. We adopted schools, 21 schools were adopted, and we had 94 school outreach programs. We had 18 workshops for the educators. We believe that if we start with this thing of water conservation and water demand management at a low level, at school level, it will become part of our DNA as a country, since we are a country that is not well endowed in terms of this natural resource, which is water. Therefore, it is important that we manage this resource with the utmost care. We had 40 plant tours with different schools where the learners were exposed to the business of uMngeni-uThukela water. In terms of the enterprise supplier development, the ESD is not ISD, my apologies. We had 22 projects that were supported, and 4 of those supported projects were completed in the financial year. The other projects are currently, 18 of them are in the implementation stages. There were 120 community members that were trained in various skills and the year under review, and 147 local companies that benefited, and 1,220 local laborers were employed in our intervention. And as I've said, 11 million was invested in the CSI in the year under review. I would like to end there, and I will then allow the CFO to take us through the finance. Thereafter, the COO will then take us through the execution of the mandate. Thank you so much.
Thank you, CE. Ladies and gentlemen, particularly the mayors, earlier we had a media engagement, and one of the salient points that came out from that engagement was that of the high index of non-revenue water loss. And we pacified the media, as the CE has just explained, that through the partnership, such as the one that we have with eThekwini, we are working collaboratively to fix these leaks. So I think it is a partnership that needs to be replicated elsewhere, because when water losses happen or to be more precise, no taps, no water comes out of taps, the public holds us as a water board equally culpable as they do with the municipality. It is, after all, a shared imperative and a constitutional right that they get this water. Can I now call upon the CFO to give us the financial aspects of how we have done on our spend? CFO?
Oh, let me.
Hope you don't forget this time.
Oh, but it's not. No, this time I'm not.
No. Can we get assistance with the CFO's presentation?
Maybe whilst they're fixing the presentation, I would like to just observe all protocol. I would probably say because we are behind or below the CE, he has gone and appreciated and greeted everyone. I'm going to be presenting the 2024-25 financial performance, which we are still waiting to be loaded. Thank you. The main purpose is to actually present the audited consolidated financial results, provide an overview of the financial performance, position and financial results, as well as look at the key financial risk impacting on our financial performance. On the financial overview, as highlights, the Water Board achieved a surplus for the year ended 30 June 2025 of 1.3 billion rands. This was a 6% decrease from the previous financial year, where we achieved 1.4 billion rands. At a high level, the reason for the decrease is one, we had to curtail supply to eThekwini and uMsunduzi because the obstruction on uMngeni system was more than the licensed volumes. So obviously, as you curtail, it means your volumes will then be stagnant, and that will actually have an impact on our bottom line. And I think secondly, the other impact was on the credit losses, where we've seen that some municipalities are actually starting to battle to pay us on time, and we are sitting with quite a big overdue balance. And we then have to provide for credit losses, and those also had an impact on our bottom line, and thus the reduction in our surplus for the year. I would like to just put a disclaimer that, as you would understand, we are an SOE, which means the department is our shareholder. When we make surpluses, it's not profits that go anywhere, as we are already owned, 100% owned by the department. These surpluses are then reinvested back into our capital expenditure program. There's no distribution, there are no dividends. The money is actually used as cash flow to fund the next capital program. The group's gross profit did increase by about 3% from 3.7 billion rands to 3.8 billion rands. Our total assets base increased by 14%, which was mainly driven by the increase in additions to assets, and this is where we actually are busy on our capital expenditure projects, where the property, plant and equipment then increased by 18%, which equates to about 2.3 billion rands of capital expenditure that we incurred in the year. Our operating profit, this is profit before interest and tax, decreased by 12%. I think it does actually follow a little bit the net surplus that I'd actually spoken about, and the impact is also caused by the two. I think then what normally happens is that the interest income from investments that we are holding then actually comes in to then assist and actually increases our net surplus from the 693 up to the 1.3 billion rands. The bulk water revenue increased by 8%. There was a slight volume increase, very slight, because of the curtailment, as I said. But where we were actually got the increase was on the bulk water tariff, which averaged about 10% for the year. Other operating and administrative expenses increased by 10%, and the details are on section 2.1.4 of the detailed annual report. I think because those expenses are quite vast and detailed, probably I would suggest that whoever wants to look at it goes into there. We've actually explained those expenses. But I will touch on the operating performance, which then touches on, how our income statement looks like. So I have spoken about the revenue, which, as we said, was sitting at about 7.6 billion rands. And last year, we were sitting at 6.8 billion. So the 8% is made up of the 755 million increase. And that's mainly the tariff increase. The cost of sales will then have increased as well. Cost of sales will normally follow, your revenue. But I will expand on the cost of sales because there are some drivers there which are important to then unpack. The gross profit percentage has actually reduced. So last year we had 54% gross profit, and this year we're sitting at 50%. The reason for the reduction is more on the dilution of the product that we supply, especially on the Section 30 activities. So Section 30 activities have got a lower margin because it's mainly project management fees that we actually bill, and those are normally at about 5 or 4%, which is actually contrary to the gross profit margins we make on the supply of bulk water. So that dilution will then reduce our gross profit percentage. And then I've spoken about the other operating and admin expenses, which actually were up. I think the movement there's an error. The difference is supposed to be 206, not 2062. The expected credit losses, as I had mentioned, that's the line item that states that we have to provide for credit losses for any overdue debtors balances. We had to recognize this year 522 million rands of what we feel is maybe not recoverable in the near future. Then our profit before tax, as I said, and maybe I will touch on interest income. You will see that our interest income is sitting at about 684 million. It is flat if you look at the fact that it was 682 in the previous financial year. And this is just from the fact that we are still holding quite a large chunk of investments. And this comes from the years. I think if you saw the CEO's presentation on the CAPEX, 2020-21, we were spending about 800 to 900 million a year. And obviously, the funds that were meant for the capital expenditure projects were not actually spent as they were supposed to. You'll remember that during that period, we had COVID and lockdown. So the reduction in the capital expenditure was mainly caused by the fact that operations were affected at the time. But you've seen that now we've actually ramped up our capital expenditures, especially from last year, where we are now in the 2 billion, and this year we're sitting at the 3 billion. That trend is not going to stop. We are actually ramping up on the capital expenditure. I think over the next 5 years, we actually, on our 5-year business plan and corporate plan, we are looking at about 22 billion rands that we're going to be spending on capital expenditure programs to secure the future of supply of water into the province. Just a little bit of detail. We did state that our total revenue increased 11%. This is mainly due to bulk water tariff increases, I've stated. There were some volumes actually driven by eThekwini and uMsunduzi, but I did mention the fact that those increases were slight this time around because the two municipalities are working on a curtailment program where they need to actually reduce the demand of the water that is actually being utilized. So you will see that in total, there was a slight reduction, I think a 1.5% reduction in the percentage volumes. On the cost of sales, there are certain drivers of cost of sales, so I'll actually take you through each of those drivers. There are significant drivers in terms of determining what is the cost of actually selling a kiloliter of water. Starting with chemicals. Chemical expenditure increased this year by 37%. This is a mix of one, price increases, but also usage. On the usage increase, we saw a 26% growth. I think last year we had a challenge on algae on most of our dams, which then meant that we needed to use more chemicals to then actually get our water to a standard that is actually drinkable. And that's the reason why we have such a significant increase. Specifically, the one chemical that we really actually saw an increase on was on coagulants, which the usage was 29% higher than what we had used in the previous financial year. The energy costs, this is electricity mainly, and anything else that we use for energy, but I think it's mainly electricity. This cost increased by 58% in the current financial year. Don't be too surprised. You'll remember that we've just recovered from significant load shedding. So obviously, everything now works every day compared to the load shedding period that we had. So the 58%, don't be shocked and say, hey, uMngeni is overutilizing electricity. But it's just that now we've even forgotten that there was load shedding about 12 months ago. Actually, more than 12 months ago. But also, there is a tariff that was imposed by Eskom of about 12% within that 58% increase in usage. Maintenance increased by 39%. We have to maintain our assets so that they continue to produce at peak performance. But there were actually quite a significant increase compared to prior on the internal maintenance recoveries for spares, where we had breakdowns, I think. So when you saw that we didn't even achieve the target of a number of days interruptions, that just shows that we then had to go and actually repair or actually maintain some of these areas. Especially, there were big refurbishment costs that were incurred within our Durban Heights, which is our biggest processing plant, as well as Wiggins treatment plant. Direct costs, direct staff costs, these are costs of staff members who are directly linked to the production of potable water. So I probably won't qualify because I don't even know what to do to get to drinkable water. So I won't be there. But those staff costs for the year increased by 25%. One of the reasons why we had such a big increase was, one, the overtime costs, because we've had quite a lot of vacancies within the area. So whilst you have vacancies, you then have an increase on your overtime cost. Obviously, there is a little bit of an offset because with vacancies, you're not paying salaries for those warm bodies, but you then have to pay overtime. But also, the entity got regraded from an A2, which was a large to mega, to kind of a mega. We were regraded to an A1 grade entity, which was more at the same level as Rand Water. And that came with certain expenses because obviously now, if you have process controllers here, they must earn the same salary as someone who's on an A1. So that also contributed to our staff costs actually going up. Raw water expenditure was below budget and prior year. And obviously, we did see some volumes increase on uMngeni system as well as Hazelmere. And this one follows the amount of consumption that we actually utilize. And then I've touched on the operating and admin costs, which actually increased by 10%. And I've also touched on the net finance income, which is interest. This one is just showing at a high level how much it costs us to actually produce a kiloliter of bulk water when you utilize just the direct costs and not the indirect costs. You'll see that there was a significant jump from 2024, where it was R6.88. It went up to R8.70 in the current financial year, and that represented a 27% increase year on year. And obviously the contributors were these increases in chemicals, maintenance and energy, chemicals at 21.8%, maintenance at 29%, as well as energy at 37.5%. Now, colleagues, I know there's big fight around tariffs, so obviously that R8.70 excludes all your indirect costs, so that colleagues that we always have discussions around tariff, they don't say, why are you charging us R13 when it costs you 8? There's indirect costs that are not included in there. There's capex costs of all the projects that we need to build that is not included in there. So once you build that up, then it probably will get you to the R13 that we actually charge on average to each entity. Return on assets slightly reduced by about 1.1%. Obviously, credit losses and staff costs and the reduced operating profit will then have an impact of your return on assets actually reducing. And then, obviously, I've touched on the profit for the year at 1.3 billion rands versus the 1.4 billion. That's an 88 million rand difference from last year, which equates to about a 6% decrease. And I've stated why. Your cash flow, just so we show how we've utilized our cash. Our operating cash after scheduled repayments of the debt was sufficient to fund investing activities and that were related to capital expenditure. So the net cash used in financing activities totaled about 161 million, which consisted of a 35 million rand loan that we had to repay, and we also paid interest of about 117 million rands for the year. And all surplus cash was invested in line with our investment policy. And then if you look at cash flows from operations, which is our operating cash flows, these are cash flows we utilize to run the day-to-day activities of the organization. They totaled about 2.6 billion rands compared to last year at about exactly 2 billion rands. The increase of 650 million year on year is primarily due to increase in working capital requirements as the amount due from trade receivables, these are our debtors, which is our overdue balances, would then actually have increased what we require. So the more debt we have, the less cash we then have to utilize. On the balance sheet or the financial position, you'll notice that high level, our total non-current assets are currently sitting at 15.1 billion rands versus a 13.4 billion rands. That's the 2.3 billion, I think, from a higher level of your property, plant and equipment, where we said our capex for the year was about 2.3, 2.6 billion. That actually has an increase. Remember, minus depreciation. So that's why you'll have 3 billion capex, but you'll have depreciation. Net, there's about a 2.3 billion rand movement in the property, plant and equipment. Current assets also increase from 8.3 billion to 9.7 billion rands. You will see that a big increase there is sitting on your trade and other receivables. Those are our debtors that have actually significantly increased there. Well, there is also an increase in the bank balance that we were holding at year end. CEO had touched on this one, where he had actually stated that we had capital expenditure of 3.1 billion rands for the year. And with that capex, obviously the reason why we didn't meet our 4 billion rand target was because there is one project in Lower Mkomas which was delayed by a tender appeal, and obviously it's sitting in court, and it would have been factored as part of the plans of what we need to do. That tender value is about 7 billion rand, so obviously it would have contributed to us getting to the 4 billion rand capital expenditure. Investments at the moment, or as at the end of 2025, we held investments of about 6.4 billion rands. This is where the interest of 600 million is coming from, because we held the 6.4 billion rands. It had a reduction of about 523 million compared to June 2024. Obviously, we did utilize this for our capital expenditure requirements, and that's the reduction on the investments. We had to withdraw from our investments. And then our debtors days, we're sitting at 43 days in 2024. That has increased to 50 days. And I think it goes back to the overdue balances from our debtors. As I said, we've seen municipalities battle to pay us on time. And obviously they've got their own challenges, but we then also feel it on our side when there's been delays in payments. On the liabilities side, there has been a slight reduction on the non-current liabilities from 2 billion down to 1.2 billion rands. The significant movement there has been the 930 million rands loan that we have with, I think it's the bond, which is due for redemption at the end of March. And obviously we've moved it from long-term to short-term. That's the movement there on your non-current. But if you see your current, there's a short-term debt there. That one has gone from 69 to 998. So that's where the movement has been. So that amount will be paid. But one comfort I can give is that we have been ring fencing, and we started redeeming on a yearly basis, actually every month, a portion of it. And I think right now we're sitting with about 700 or 800 million that has been ring fenced to pay. So it won't have a direct impact on us because we'd already factored that we're going to pay back that loan. Whilst we pay back the loan, we are going to be going back to market to borrow. As I explained, we have a 22 billion rand project, a capital expenditure program that we need to fulfill. We don't have that type of money. So we are going to be going out to the market, I think, around March or April, to actually then say we want to borrow so that we can fund our cash flow needs for this CapEx program. On the gross debt, so National Treasury sets limits for entities to borrow so that entities don't just go and borrow and strain the fiscus. So obviously they can then control how each entity borrows. Our limit was set at 4.5 billion rands. We have only utilized 1 billion rands, so we still have an allowance of about 3.5 billion rands to actually go and borrow. At June 2025, that 3.5 was not utilized. Our debt to equity ratio stayed the same, as we had not actually borrowed, so it stayed the same. And I'm happy to say that that 0.06 was way below the covenant or debt covenant level of 0.5 that we are expected to meet. And all our debt covenants were actually not breached in June 2025. Also, because we go to the market and borrow, we then have to be rated so that we have a credit status by the rating agencies. The two that we utilize is Standard & Poor's as well as Fitch. These rating agencies have actually rated our entity. I think Standard & Poor's report was issued in May 2025. I think it goes on a 12-month cycle, so we will have another rating, I think, exercise soon, now in March or April. But on the long-term rating, we're sitting with AAA. On a short-term rating, we're sitting at A-1. Whilst on the Fitch ratings, which were done on the 5th of November 2025, we are sitting at a AA plus, and short-term rating is at an F1 plus. What is good to know is that these ratings are above the country's ratings. So we are actually rated higher than the country itself. The one topic that probably we'll also like to actually talk about, because obviously the organization has also been in the newspapers a lot on issues that kind of digress to the performance of this organization. Would like to also maybe touch on these issues, because these issues countrywide, all entities, irregular expenditure, fruitless and wasteful expenditure, those are issues that we have to also deal with. This entity is no different than to other entities where it has incurred irregular and fruitless expenditure. But the presentation just wants to touch on what have we done about it, and where are we with regards to dealing with irregular and fruitless and wasteful expenditure. So the first initiative has been the increase in the number of condonation applications to National Treasury. So in this financial year, because our irregular expenditure for the past 5 years has stayed stagnant, actually not stagnant, it has increased, and we've never had any reduction, because we've never gotten to a point where we get irregular expenditure condoned. But this financial year, we have a total of 1.2 billion rands in irregular expenditure, which represents about 22% of the total, which has been successfully condoned by the authority in line with paragraph 58 of the irregular expenditure framework. And then 40% of the irregular expenditure is also currently at formal application stage, so we have actually sent it to Treasury for application for condonement. And then the remaining 38% is progressing through various stages. So obviously there are some cases that are sitting at investigation stage. There are some cases that are sitting at disciplinary stage where consequence management has to be dealt with. There are some that are sitting at assessing value for money where irregular expenditure has been incurred. What is actually comforting is that in 2024, the Auditor General had raised a material finding around the entity's lack of applying consequence management. In 2025, that particular material finding was removed from the audit report because the OAG was satisfied with the consequence management actions that the organization was embarking on or had embarked on. When it comes to fruitless and wasteful expenditure, the legislation is very clear. Once it's determined and there's fault, there's an element of collection that needs to happen. And where possibility of collection is not possible, we then have to write off. In the current financial year, our fruitless and wasteful expenditure decreased by 81.3%. And then the opening balance has been fully investigated, and the recovery processes are at varying stages of implementation, be it we are making people sign acknowledgement of debts, or we're sitting with lawyers who are actually implementing collections from the relevant or the affected parties. The investigations by the SIU, there were 2 proclamations that were being investigated by the SIU, and those proclamations, we're happy to say that the SIU has completed and concluded all those investigations, and the related reports are currently at implementation phase with follow-up actions being monitored. The board has actually appointed an ad hoc committee that is actually processing the reports, and I think the committee is also being assisted by an independent specialist to actually be able to then recommend where charges need to be made, draw up the charges, where collection needs to be made, implement that collection. Through the chairperson of the Audit and Finance Risk Committee, there's been an approval of a 4-point strategy titled Roadmap to a Clean Audit to address key issues identified during the statutory audit. Significant progress has been recorded across the 4 strategic streams. 1 has been enhancing compliance with applicable laws and regulations, because we had material findings on non-compliance with regulations. The second one was the improving the quality of credibility of financial information. There were adjustments that were suggested by the Auditor General that we do, which then were material enough for them to actually classify the finding of material errors. What we've done is we've then actually said we're going to do our interims. Normally, interims are done as a snapshot, but we've committed as a team that we will do full financial statements for 6 months so that we are able to pick up all the errors, and the Auditor General will assist us with checking those financials before we get to the end of the financial year. The third one is strengthening supply chain management practices. And this is through training of staff, but also the challenge that we've had is that we've actually had vacancies within the department for the past 3 years where we could not even employ because we are sitting on a moratorium based on the fact that we had to go through a reconfiguration of the organization. So I'm happy to then report that 3 senior managers who are specialists in the supply chain management field have been employed to oversee supply chain management. They are currently busy with filling up all the vacancies that we've had within that division. And there's been training of the committees within that. And there is a review of the policy to ensure that all the gaps that we found during the audit are actually addressed. And then the last one is enforcing consequence management to drive accountability. I think one of the communications that we've been having is around the fact that consequence management does not mean that you fire everyone. Consequence management is a corrective measure to where you found where there's fault. If someone didn't know what they were doing, you then train them. That's consequence management. Where there was deliberate mischief, then you actually go through a process of ensuring that that person should not be part of the organization that is trying to instill good governance going forward. Program Director, I'd like to stop there and thank everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Ndonga. Honorable Naya, Chairperson of the COCTA committee, I am sure some of the questions that the committee had when the CFO, when the COO appeared before the committee, was it late last year, have certainly been answered. And just to add, Chairperson and the board, that we also have received a request from the Honorable Chairperson of the COCTA committee to visit some of our infrastructure projects, and we are working towards that in the next few weeks. Can I now call upon the COO to really give us the infrastructure projects that the CFO has alluded to?
Thank you, Program Director. Stobeke, Bantwana baseNdlunkulu. Greetings to the House, all protocols observed. I'm going to take you through our operational performance, and more specifically, I'm going to be looking at infrastructure delivery and plan, which underpins the operational resilience. I think starting off, we just need to reassure the House that we are not working outside the constitution of the land. We are also worried, and we also want to make sure that everyone enjoys the right to sustainable water that is sufficient. We do that through alignment with the Water and Sanitation Master Planning, Provincial Growth Development Strategy, through the Water Services Authorities as well, the Integrated Development Plans, which all form part or inform our Bible, which is the Universal Access Plan for the province. This Universal Access Plan is where we draw from our Infrastructure Master Plan, which ultimately goes into our 5-year CAPEX program. There's therefore alignment with what the municipalities are doing. We all want to ultimately achieve wall-to-wall coverage, where all citizens of the province receive clean potable water. You would have noted this slide from the CE. What we want to highlight at this point is that our CAPEX program talks to all the needs of the infrastructure. We want to highlight that 20% of our spend in the year of reporting went to rehabilitation of infrastructure. This is very important because our infrastructure ages with time, and you need at correct intervals to make sure that you rejuvenate the infrastructure such that all assets will always give you sustainable supply of water. Also, in line with the Constitution, 32% of our spend of infrastructure went to rural development. Much as we want to make profits, but we also need to strike a balance. We need to provide infrastructure that will supply everyone within the province. I think then this takes us to what we try to achieve with our infrastructure delivery. Basically, what we want to do is to have all systems reaching a state that is what we call economies of scale for water supply. Systems where everything is stable from raw water to bulk treatment to distribution and reticulation. We have such systems that are close to achieving that status. Systems like your metro, the city, systems like in your Richards Bay, systems like in your Pietermaritzburg. Those systems, we want to ultimately make sure that we continue to supply potable water sustainably for the foreseeable future. Therefore, we have strategic projects that will ensure that we achieve that. We also have systems where we still need to get to some level of stability and maturity. Systems like your South Coast, Herigwala, Uku, where we still need to beef up infrastructure and make sure that we attain a particular level of assurance of supply. There we have raw water resources type of projects in the main, integrating with the planning of the municipalities to ensure that even the recirculation side is achieved. Therefore, the strategy on our infrastructure tries to optimize the raw water availability and usage in making sure that all our rivers are utilized efficiently and effectively. You will note that in the northeast region, where we have the Richards Bay as a municipality, we have a treatment plant there, and we have plans to augment that system to make sure that supply is sustainable. We therefore have augmentation from the uThukela River, which is a much bigger river, to augment the Mhlathuze River, in which this plant abstracts water from. We have a ministerial directive project which we have just completed that we call the Thukela Hude Transfer Scheme. Very important project because these projects will ensure that there will be enough supply of water for the, firstly, Eshowe, Nkandla, and Mthonjaneni regions, and then as it goes up all the way to the Mhlathuze River, enough supply for the industries in the north and also potable water as well. So this project has recently been completed. We are finalizing commissioning, doing minor snagging. We are very excited about this project. And then if you move down to the south, we are augmenting the uMngeni River system. This is the system that produces most of our water, Mgungundlovu, Msunduzi, and eThekwini, to some extent, Uku, drink from the river uMngeni. We are augmenting this with the uMkhomazi River, where we have 2 critical infrastructure projects in that region. We have what we call Lower Mkhomazi project, which is currently its implementation. We have the uMkhomazi Water Project, we call it Upper Mkhomazi, which is a mega project that will deal with all the needs of water as issues within 5 municipalities, including the Metro, Mgungundlovu, Msunduzi, Ilembe, and Uku, Herigwala as well, to some extent. So this is what we are looking into. Even at the planning phases, we are also looking at augmenting further the Nsezi water treatment in the north through the Umfolozi River system, where at feasibility stages we are looking at having a dam there that will ultimately make sure that there will be no issues of raw water availability in the north. We are not going to go through all of it, but we are also investigating the further augmentation with desalinated water, as you would note from the slide. So this is basically what we strive to achieve. We want to rationalize all the raw water resources availability, and we structure our projects in alignment with that. For the year of reporting, if you look at the utilization of our infrastructure, this picture here shows that almost all of them, with the exception of three plants, are operating beyond 80% of the design capacity. This therefore means that there's not enough flexibility in the system to manage demands, to also manage planned maintenance, to take out necessary unit processes offline and do your corrective maintenance. So it makes the system very tricky. This then indicates the drive for the directive, the pre-directive that we received from the department, especially in our main system, uMngeni, where we were required to reduce abstraction from around 1,400 million liters a day to 1,278 million liters a day. I think I like this slide very much because in response to that, collaboratively with the municipalities involved, plans of actions were put in place, submitted to the authority and approved, obviously revised at some point. So we are effectively en route to achieving that target. Because if you look at where we were as at end of December 2025, from this system, we were at around 1,300. And the end goal is 1,287. So from a deficit of 115 or so megaliters per day, which we were over abstracting with, to around 50. This is very good progress and good collaboration. Some of the work, I think the CE spoke of in terms of water conservation, water demand management initiatives. One example with the city of eThekwini, which we call the MMM project as an example. I think there will be many to come as we have planned to budget for, I think 50 million CFO each financial year to other deserving municipalities to try and deal with this beast of non-revenue water, more specifically real water losses. I think then now, moving straight to how we fared in terms of infrastructure delivery in the reporting period, we'll just move WSA by WSA very briefly. We are not going to discuss all projects, but we just give an account of where we are in terms of these mega projects. I think it's very important that our stakeholders understand where we are. If you look at eThekwini Metro, the biggest project there is the uMngeni water project. So this project involves the other 4 municipalities, so I will not be discussing it as I get to all the municipalities. So iLembe will benefit, uMnguni-uThukela, uMsunduzi, and Oku. This project is a mega project, a 625 megaliter per day project. We are implementing it jointly with the Trans-Caledon Tunnel Water Authority, TCTA, who will be doing the raw water component of it. They'll be doing the dam. We will be doing the potable water infrastructure. After several months or years of negotiations to get off-take agreements so that this could be viably funded, we are happy that this project has finally kick-started in the financial year. We have started with the design phases of this project. So this is the ultimate long-term solution for these regions, which will resolve all our problems. And then to augment that, we have the Lower uMngeni scheme, which is a 100 megaliters per day project. This project will bring to the system water just for the south coast of eThekwini and some parts of Oku, 100 megaliters per day of water. Had it was not for the court appeals, we would have been commissioning this project end of 2027. We are proceeding with construction of the relevant work packages of this project, which includes the dam, which is an off-channel storage for the system. This will ensure that we always have water availability even during the drought season. So that process is continuing, where the dam is under construction. We are approaching 50% completion, and other abstraction works types of contracts. So the waterworks contract is on the critical part, obviously. As soon as the court processes are concluded, we will earmark to complete this project within 18 to 24 months, depending on when that happens. But this is our best case scenario. Worst case scenario is that the court cancels. Then we're back to square one. Then we won't know when that can happen. But those are the critical schemes that will solve eThekwini problems and to some extent Oku problems. There is a Hazelmere scheme as well. This talks to iLembe as well, which we are upgrading from 75 megaliters per day to 90 megaliters per day. This plant, if you recall my plant utilization, Hazelmere is operating above capacity as we speak. This has many consequences. It compromises the potential water quality, but obviously we are able to manage that. So if we are taking it from 75 now and upgrading it to 90, but we are already operating it close to 90. So this shows the extent of the rapid growth in demands and also water losses in the system, as an example. These projects, we will not discuss them. We are showing the status of mainly the rehabilitation types of projects. This ensures that the old systems will forever give us a reliable supply of water. If you look at the 2022 situation of the floods, where we were found almost wanting, these types of projects ensures that such events don't catch us by surprise in the near future. Our systems are more robust, our designs going forward. As a highlight, line number 4 there, the Waklimba was one project that was completed in the reporting year, which is a 7 megaliter per day treatment capacity, which was implemented within 12 months. I think this was executed very well there. Moving on to Ilembe, this municipality also, we are very happy that we have finally completed the Wamapumulo upgrade from 6 megaliters per day to 12. It's currently being commissioned. This is the second month or so. This is exciting. We also have quite a number of projects in Ilembe that we are anticipating to commission in the next month or so. The projects we call uMngeni, the different phases of uMngeni that take water from the uMngeni system across uMngeni all the way to KwaMaphumulo and Ndwedwe. A few of these contracts are going to be commissioned starting from, I think, the 20th of February. We will be having minister to conduct an oversight in these areas. We are very excited that we are almost covering Ilembe in full. With just one project that we must implement, which we call the Lower uMngeni-uThukela Phase 2. With that project, we have completed the designs. That project will bring additional 55 megaliters per day to KwaDogoza. So with that project, I believe Ilembe would have been probably the greatest beneficiaries of our infrastructure programs. So we are looking forward to these projects. So we will be probably going to construction procurement in the next month for this Lower uMngeni-uThukela project. We have listed some of the other projects which we will not go in detail. If you go down south to Uku, in Uku we still need to build robust systems. The critical systems that we need to start with raw water resources. There is a ministerial directive project that is called Durban of Channel Storage Dam. That project, after some delays initially with respect to the negotiations for the funding arrangement, as this is a directive, the project has successfully moved. We are close to finishing the designs to a point that we are at the procurement stage to start with the first phase of implementation of this project, with the last phase, which we are going to go out to tender before the end of this financial year. So this is I think a 9.5 million cubic meters dam, which is a category 2 dam, looking forward to this infrastructure to augment raw water resources within the Uku region. Still in the south, if we go to Herikwala as well, Herikwala, there are nicely planned schemes there. The Donnybrook bulk water supply scheme, which the municipality will implement. We are implementing a dam to just make sure that everything fits together. This is about an 8.5 million cubic meter dam. It's also a category 2 dam at field dam. So this one, we have finally completed the designs. We have completed the procurement phase of the construction. We are due to start the actual dust construction in a month's time or so, when all the necessary processes have been concluded. So then this will start slowly move the Herikwala and Uku districts into sustainable systems which have sustainable bulk water supply. Then moving to uMngeni-uThukela, or I think I said Ilembe would be the most benefit, but for this reporting period, in terms of planned infrastructure, completed infrastructure that is in progress, I think UMDM probably has the most. We have, at the design phases, we want to augment the Rosetta supply, that system. So we are completing the design of that system, and then we are due to go to construction tender in the next few months. That project will take water further down towards uMngeni local municipality. When we look at other projects that we are planning to implement, even the rural development schemes, we have completed the designs of the STEPMO and is at the procurement phases. So we are going to be starting that process of implementation as well. And then you can see I've got 3 slides on uMngeni-uThukela. On completed projects in uMngeni-uThukela, we've completed 3 wastewater treatment plants. uMngeni wastewater treatment plant, which is a 6 megaliter per day, very strategic in nature because sewage from the top there ultimately ends in the uMngeni River system and makes the treatment of water downstream expensive. So we are excited that that project is completed. We have also completed the N3 corridor project, which is a wastewater package plant in line with the developments happening in that area in Hilton. We have also finally started to operate the Trustfits wastewater treatment plant. I think this one is a good example of government planning, if I may call it that way, where a wastewater treatment works was completed ahead of the housing development, such that when the housing development came, sewage did not just flow onto the streets and wherever. So we are very excited that this system can be as an example. And then if we move to uMsunduzi, we don't have a lot. We just have the Vulindlela scheme, which is a secondary bulk type of a project. We have completed the first leg of that. We are going to start going out to tender for the second leg of that project, which will then ultimately supply to all the extended areas within uMsunduzi area. I think uMsunduzi, as far as water supply is concerned, is fairly comfortable receiving from our DV Harris system. Obviously, these are the medium-term type of interventions, with the Upper Mkomazi coming later on as a long-term measure, which will deal with all the other issues. If we move to the northeast, probably if we may just call this Section 63 interventions, the entity has 2 Section 63 interventions, I think rightfully so, by the MSC. There is one also in uThukela District Municipality. We are not reporting on it in this financial year because it was signed in August 2025. We have very good reporting to do for this financial year. Work has started there. We are excited with what has happened, the collaboration, funding streams, availability of debt has assisted greatly to making sure that what we will be doing there will be sustainable. Nonetheless, in uMngeni-uThukela, we are proceeding as this has been running throughout the years. I think this is our 3rd year running. It's a 5-year intervention. We have 21 business plans which have been approved. We are working on all of them. And we are happy to report that in the Jozini LM, about 4 of the business plan projects have been completed, with just 2 that are still in progress. These are mainly projects that are resuscitating dysfunctional infrastructure to make sure that from receiving 0 water per day, you at least receive water for some hours of the day, even if it's not 24 hours a day. Some projects will give you full 24 hours of supply per day to make sure that at least everyone receives water in that region. So these are mainly those types of projects in the reticulation system to deal with the rudimentary type of schemes as well. Big 5 Hlabisa, we have also progressed very, very well, with one project having been completed as part of that business plan, completed and commissioned. Then lastly, in Tuba, all of the projects have been completed and commissioned. We've had formal openings by deputy ministers, mayors. So we have demonstrated that a Section 63 type of an intervention is possible, provided funding is available. I think this is the reason why this one is slightly ahead in terms of it being spontaneous. Program Director, let me leave it here and thank you.
Thank you, Nzima, for that very comprehensive presentation. If you'll excuse the pun, I think it paints a clear picture of the projects that are in the pipeline. That said, ladies and gentlemen, can I now open the floor to questions and comments, as we normally do when we reach this segment? If I can just request that as you ask the question, you identify yourself and the institution you represent. I will take these questions in batches of 5. I do have my colleagues with roving mics in hand, so by show of hands, we'll take them in batches of 5. There's never not been a question. I see a hand to my extreme left at the back there, ma'am. Yeah.
No, thank you so much, Program Director. Maybe it's not a question, it's just a comment. Let me firstly extend my greetings. Ngibingelele ngokukhulu ukuzithoba kubantwana baseNdlunkulu. Ngibingelele the political leadership, the honorable mayors here. There are deputy mayors, there are councillors, there are representatives from parliament and the local legislature. Let me extend greetings to the senior administrators, the board, the chairperson of the board and the entire board, and all stakeholders. Ngokukhulu ukuthobeka. Okhulumayo uKhansela uNomfundo Dlamini. I'm coming from Ugu District Municipality, and thank you so much for the presentations. They were all so thorough and comprehensive, and they gave us quite a good picture of where we are as municipalities. Mine is just a comment. Babu Kuzwa, you touched on something that is so important. Engi raise quite frequently, the utilization of AI and digital infrastructure in terms of water maintenance and water resource provision. Mhlambe, mine wanted to just harp on what you said, utilizing AI for early detection of leaks. I think that one, you need to as uMngeni and as municipalities, we need to be assisted, because it assists in early detection of leaks and it reduces financial losses. If we can be able to assist our municipalities in terms of that, especially because if we don't detect our leaks early, as municipalities, we find ourselves where the water is not reaching the end user, but we are still paying for bulk infrastructure. So that one is a critical one. I also wanted to just raise a point on the possibility of municipalities being assisted in terms of a prepaid water systems or water provision systems, prepaid. Because ESCOM does it, and our communities are more than willing to pay for electricity on a prepaid system. So could we also explore that in terms of water provision? It was just those 2 comments. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay, I see another hand at the back.
Sanbona, greetings, Chair, the board, councillors, Chair, let me first commend you on the good work in terms of infrastructure provision that has been done over the past years. We can see that the institute is really growing, taking from the 2 presentations that have been done. But nevertheless, Chair, also let me commend you on the audit outcome, but it will be very interesting to see historically where you're coming from in terms of your audit outcome reports. Fortunately, I think the recent audit outcome reports within our jurisdiction, ourselves and Umsundus, I think fortunately we are all on unqualified audits, of which is good. But what is important is to ensure that our communities are receiving water. I will touch on the two critical projects for us as uMngeni-uThukela districts. The uMngeni Stepmore projects, that projects have delayed for a number of years. It has been promising coming out, but it never took off. It's one project that as the municipality we are worried about, and it has become a concern to our council that this project is always shifting in terms of date. So if uMngeni can just also concentrate on that one, and also the Inzinga projects. Those two projects are very critical for us. Bearing in mind that the areas that's there to supply, which is uMngeni, is one of our rural municipalities with nothing in terms of power provision. So it is important that we fast track those. The other one will be the one that's interlinked between uMshwathi and Ilembe. I'm just a bit worried since we are commissioning that project. We are still under curtailment. People of uMshwathi do not have water, and yet you are looking at commissioning that project, which will be taking water from uMshwathi to Ilembe. It's give a concern, and people of uMshwathi already have been asking us questions on how are we proceeding with that project, while on the other side there's no water. So it's something that we, together with you, we need to look at so that it doesn't also cause a headache between our communities on those two areas. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much. I see a hand, the table from the front to my left.
Yeah, sibonge kakhulu i-report ngizoqala ngibingelele ihambeli zethu ngiyacabanga ukuthi khona abasiphethe political hate ne management yonke from political hate bese kuyi management yethu la mina igama lami Mr. David Mayeni from uMngeni-uThukela, but ke ngizokhuluma on behalf of ABC as a chairperson of ABC Amanzi Bargaining Council, and also as umsebenzi SPC. I'll take the opportunity to appeal my political hate to owana ngathi ke siba supplier ngamanzi ukuthi they must try to improve lento lokuthiwa i-arrangement of ama-payment, because siyaqala nje bargaining council, our wage negotiations. One of the things that I see observe from previous years, I would say as a chairperson of Farmers Bargaining Council, one of the things that put forward, I as naimali on paper, but I on real time. So today, baskweleta kakhulu o maspala especially. I understand, yes, of course, revenue collection is very hard just because there are other municipalities, non-revenue based. But I'm just appealing with you, whatever they said, because there are political hate here, they can able to sit down and trying to prioritize the issue of payment, because we can see there's a lot of things that highlighted by CFO, highlighted by CE, to say this is important. Water angesihlale ngaphandle kwamanzi. But another thing that engifuna ukukhomenta kuyona yokuthi in terms of revenue collections, we understand they said how as UW managed to improve in that particular issue. As partners, ngihlale ndawonye and sit together and trying to share those experiences, because those things are very important. I think there's another point that may be raised by I think the last speaker, I guess explore a little bit prepaid, because sometimes can able to make sure that nala singafinyeleli khona can able to do justice to whatever the stuff. But ngiyabonga nje ukuthi at least there's an improvement in terms of financial stability within our organization. There's always ngicabanga ngiyabona ukuthi kuyasetshenzwa, and futhi ke siyabona nomasipala ukuthi now they are pushing hard ukuthi bekwazi ukuthi ke besinike lokho khona. Yes, it's very hard. We come from poor communities. There's a lot of informal settlement. I'll start to highlight the issue of informal settlement. Sometimes when people talk about informal settlement. But cabanga imjondolo. But I'm not referring to that. I will make an example. If there are such big houses somewhere, as ngekho arranged in terms of the link, in terms of umaspala collecting revenue, those people that are rich, but at the same time there's a legal connection, they're getting months, but they're not really charged for a month as per se. But those people in Mjondolo, there are very few. I can take Mjondolo 100, with three big houses, zinama showers, zinama whatever swimming pool, but they don't pay it. But let's improve informal structures, go back to those people with big houses and say, yes, we need to pay because water is important. Education is very important. Thank you very much.
Siyabonga Mayeni. Thank you very much. There is one question from abantwana basendlunkulu ngapha, the table directly in front of me, to my right.
Oh, ngiyabingelela lona uPrince Africa Zulu wasongweni. No bengifisa nje ukuncoma sibonga umsebenzi omuhle wenziwa uMngeni, and we also witnessing expansion yoMngeni as people are building more and more houses. But I just want to ask if ever uMngeni has been able to actually exploit that opportunity of growing or making impact in communities where through their entrepreneurs and ensuring that there is proper participation of maybe young women as plumbers and engineers in these rural areas. As uMngeni maybe embark on a particular strategy just to ensure that there is a sort of a broader benefit of this impact or this expansion that they seem to be really dominating within the province of KwaZulu-Natal. Thank you.
Siyabonga. Oh, there is one question in the front from eThekwini.
I want to just greet the chairperson of the board of uMngeni and the executive, and also greet my own mayor, Councillor Tlaba next to me, and the Indlunkulu Sebengelela. Sibonga kakhulu. No, it's more of a comment than a question. One, I wanted to just comment around the Lower Umkomazi project, and we thank you that you mentioned it, and I think it's also beyond your control. We've noted that, but the impact for us as a eThekwini is huge. So we're looking forward to getting that 60. I think we were going to get about 60 megaliters of the 100 megaliters that was presented. So it's a bit concerning if because I know this was discussed at one of the presidential working group meetings, and a representative from uMngeni mentioned that you actually are at a stage now where you can't even give us a date, and I think it's consistent with the report we've just received today that there are court processes underway. So unfortunately it's concerning, but it's beyond all of us. I was also happy in your presentation that you are starting to track the number of days that you have interruptions more than 24 hours. It might be a new KPI. I don't remember seeing that one before. The number is lower than what I expected, but I'm just happy that you have something. I think you said 6.8. Yeah? 6.8 days that there was an interruption more than 24 hours. Maybe it's in this reporting period. But even 6.8 is something, because we were concerned, becoming even more concerned as a eThekwini. But what I liked in the approach that you presented was that I think you on the other hand, you presented on how much you're going to spend on refurbishment. I think you said 22 billion. CAPEX, 22 billion. So I think you are dealing with that. So hopefully that 6.8 over time would reduce and not get worse. So, but on behalf of eThekwini, and I'm saying that guardedly with my mayor sitting next to me, I think the relationship is generally good with eThekwini, so we do appreciate. Even the M project, we wish that it could go a bit faster because we are really bleeding in terms of non-revenue water. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I hand over to mainly this? All right, maybe let us give the chairperson to just deal with the Lower Umkoma's court issue before we move to the other responses by the COO and CFO.
Yes, I'm going to stick to the protocol that has already been established. The issue that has just been raised by the executive director from eThekwini on us, I think, as uMngeni-uThukela, being unable to indicate by when that appeal issue, which is in court, is going to be resolved. It's a normal process. What we have not used is the term that the matter is sub judice. But fortunately for us, I think 2026 just came with, I think it's like snow, because just next week, Friday, the matter is in court. The parties, I think they are 99.1% on having arrived at a decision which would go in favor of us continuing with the project. It's just that when these matters are out there, they're out there in the main, in the nature of how bad A was. But we will get an opportunity after next week, Friday, really, of sharing with everyone as to what the truth has always been and why the snow just fell, which is what is going to happen next week, Friday. So the matter is in court. In court, you have an opposed motion and you have an unopposed motion. From the look of things, it won't be on the opposed motion. It would be on the unopposed motion because parties are almost in an agreement. So I can only take it up to that level. Thanks.
Thank you, Chairperson.
I would like to maybe contribute to the question around participation and benefits of women and youth. So the organization just, they approved a CPG policy. This is contract participation goals. This is a policy that guides how communities benefit on the projects that uMngeni-uThukela embarks on. And that policy is actually now very specific as to the type of participation that is actually allocated to women, companies owned by women, companies owned by youth. I think there's also even companies owned by military veterans. So it is very specific, and we do track and monitor how each of those projects are actually spread. What we have as a policy is there is a 35% allocation or ring fence that happens after the award of the contract, where the main contractor will then actually prepare work packages to the value of 35% to then actually assist the communities, or not assist the communities, but actually allocate that to locally based entities. There is a split, it's in the policy. I think the plan has been to actually take the policy and workshop it within our areas of operation so that community members understand how the policy operates. I'm happy to say that since the inception of this CPG policy, I think uMngeni-uThukela has actually empowered up to the value of 9 billion rands communities in the projects that we actually have embarked on. So there is a program like that, and it does actually, we've seen it benefit and make differences in the areas where we've actually implemented projects. Thank you.
Thank you. Probably we received a few comments. If I may just comment on those. On the uMngeni project, we do take note of the need to fast track. This project is affecting both Herikwala and uMngeni-uThukela. There was an issue of take agreement, which we are happy to report that the council, Herikwala district, has resolved. So the project is proceeding. We will do whatever it takes to fast track as much as possible. I think also there were comments around the Umshwati. Yes, you are correct, that the water there we don't have in abundance because it's still the uMngeni system that will fit that system. We just need to take note that ultimately we know that Apamkomazi is the ultimate plan. Through JOC and other interventions, we'll definitely discuss and make sure that we don't suffocate UMDM as a result of supplying Ilembe. We take note of that. And then I think lastly, there was a comment on the 6.8 in days interruptions. Probably just to note, there were two major force majeure events from heavy rains in the South Coast, wherein the South Coast documentation system was washed away. We could not supply Uku sufficiently during that. And also the uMthwalume flooded to a point that we could not run the abstractions. So what is being done about that is that we had a project in place already for uMthwalume, which is going to conclude before end of this financial year to sustainably deal with that. Thank you.
Thank you, COO. Colleagues, from the questions I received, I took it that we are generally covered. And
maybe, sorry to interrupt, Mr. Mapumul. I think a point is a councillor from Ugu on Ama prepaid. I just wanted to talk just a brief on the prepaid meters, because one is aware where prepaid. For instance, I remember prepaid in Soweto when they were trying to install the prepaid. I think us as a water board, we would obviously have to sit together with the municipality so that we get what clearly is a clear mandate, because a prepaid, once a prepaid has been installed, if the community, for whatever reason, decide to damage the prepaid, it's obviously a cost risk somewhere. And us, I think, as a water board, we have no leg to enforce any obligation in relation to that particular arrangement. Hence, my point is that if we were to look into the prepaid, it wouldn't come, I think, as a prepaid CSI from the board, because these meters, they in any event, they have a lifespan, they in any event malfunction. So there's quite a number of expenses that would in any event be incurred. So I think we will have to look clearly, but I think the affected municipality ought to know that there is even their own this public insurance, because it's not inside the house. If it's inside the house, probably it's to link with the owner of the property. So we will really have to apply our minds as to what is it that we seek to achieve, what is it that from our side we are capable of really executing on behalf of a municipality. I think that is all.
Thank you, Chair. Colleagues, I would not like to censor you, but I did not get an indication, there is an additional hand. We shall take that hand as well as any others that may follow.
Thank you, Chair. I am acutely aware of the time, so I will try to be quick and observe all protocols. Mr. COO, specifically, I had to step out 2 minutes during your presentation. If this was missed, I do apologize, but I'm also happy for anyone to take the question, particularly as we think about climate change. I'm interested, sorry, my name is uMngeni Sikoti, by the way, from Maxshore Risk Solutions. I'm curious as to how UUW is thinking about climate change, particularly in terms of scenario planning for the future. So whether that is perhaps peak drought risk, floods, of course, we understand the implications thereof, given recent events all throughout the province. So if you could just take us into your confidence about what scenario planning and modeling tools are you using, and how confident are we in the ability to meet long-term water demand for the province, say 5 to 10 years from now?
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think if we look into the opening remarks of the chairperson, he made mention of artificial intelligence move. There are quite a number of initiatives. Okay, probably starting from the climate change policy, which sets the tone from the organization. I think that's the confidence we would like to bring. Then going to the individual programs which talks to climate change, utilizing the artificial intelligence type of interventions. You have projects that talks to early detection warning systems that informs our flood management interventions and the likes. So we have quite a number of such programs that looks into that. Also, we have vandalism detection units, which are also proactively telling us what to do and when, what's happening. So we are comfortable with our climate change program. It's a fully fledged program that is also incorporated in our design philosophy, so that when even we start with the new projects, we make sure that all sustainability programs are in place.
Thank you, Nzima. This is a final bite. Going thrice, going twice, and I vacate the podium and allow the Deputy Chairperson of the Board, Ms. Mkhize, to give us the vote of thanks. But before she does, if our board members, after Ms. Mkhize have spoken, could just join the rest of the guests in the front for a group photo. Thank you.
I think it's been a long day. We've been listening to our male colleagues, and it's time for a soft landing and wrapping up of the day. Our distinguished stakeholders, esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen, as I've been introduced, my name is uMngeni-uThukela. I am the Deputy Chairperson of the board. On behalf of the board of uMngeni-uThukela Water, it is both a privilege and an honor to extend a sincere vote of thanks at the conclusion of this annual results presentation. Allow me to begin by acknowledging the leadership and guidance of the Minister of Water and Sanitation, Honorable Majordina, who is unable to join us today. Even in an absence, Minister's commitments to the water sector and his steadfast support for our institution continue to inspire and guide our work. We are grateful for her leadership and her vision. And I do wish to express our deepest appreciation to you all for having taken the time to be with us today. Your presence affirms the importance of cooperative governance and shared responsibility we carry in ensuring sustainable, reliable, and equitable water services for our communities. To our stakeholders and partners from across government, from business, from organized labor, from civil society and the broader water sector, thank you for your continued collaboration, your constructive engagement, and most of all, your trust. The progress we report today is not achieved in isolation. It is a product of strong partnerships and a shared commitment to service excellence. A special word of thanks goes to our invited guest for honoring us with your presence. Your interest in our performance and direction, it strengthens accountability and transparency, which remains central to our mandate as a public entity. I would like to commend the organizing team for a well-coordinated and seamless event. From planning to execution, your professionalism and attention to detail have ensured that today's program ran smoothly and reflected the high standards that uMngeni-uThukela Water Board is known for. Equally deserving of recognition is the dedicated team which was responsible for compiling and producing the annual report. Now, this document is more than just a mere compliance requirement, but it's a clear reflection of the organization's hard work, its resilience, its commitment, and its good governance. So we thank you for presenting our results with integrity, clarity, and pride. And to the Executive Committee, thank you for your strategic leadership and throughout the year under review led by our CEO, Kabazela. Your stewardship continues to drive performance, innovation, and accountability across the organizations. And lastly, to my fellow board members led by the Honorable Advocate, I extend my sincere appreciation for your guidance, your support, and collective wisdom. Your dedication to ethical leadership and the long-term sustainability of uMngeni-uThukela Water remains invaluable. So in closing, I do thank everyone present for contributing to the success of today's engagement and for your ongoing support of uMngeni-uThukela Water. Together, we will continue to advance our mandate and serve the people of our country with excellence. So, ladies and gentlemen, please feel free to help yourself to refreshments outside. Thank you.
Just one request to board members as well as ex-co members to please come to the front. The photographers insist on a group photo. Otherwise, everyone else, you can network.